Hey everyone, it's our last and final interview for Borderless Art, and it's my pleasure to welcome Natalie Trevonne. Natalie, it's an honor and thank you for sharing your time with C.A.A.C today. So let's get started. Please feel free to introduce yourself and tell us more about who you are as an artist.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Natalie Trevonne, and I would basically think of myself as a blind artist. I mean, I do so much. Like, I'm a dancer with infinite flow, I'm an actress. I just started modeling. I'm a fashion influencer for Patty and Ricky. I'm a co host and founder of Fashionably Tardy, which is a podcast that bridges the gap between the disability community and the fashion industry. And I'm also a diversity and inclusion consultant. So, yeah, wearing a lot of different hats, but I'm passionate about all of them and I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you too. You're such a multifarious artist. You have your toe dipped in every single discipline. And I really want to acknowledge how much talent that takes and how contagious your energy and your work is. So I'd love to hear more about your journey and how you have developed into the artist you are today.
Yeah, so I lost my vision at 18. And I was always like a very active child. I mean, I did cheerleading, I was part of competitive show choir, I was on the dance team. And so to have that like harsh stop to everything, well, I felt like it was a harsh stop because I didn't actually know that you could still do all those things with a visual impairment. So once I lost my vision, I just kind of did nothing as far as the arts goes. I mean, I sang a little bit with my church, but I didn't do a lot of extracurricular activities, especially within the performing arts. And it wasn't until late 2016 when I decided that I wanted to be more acclimated with the blind community. And I said, I need to join some kind of group or club that's for blind and low vision people. And so I saw an ad for a theater group who was looking for an actress that could sing. And I was like, well, I know how to sing. I mean, I don't know if I can act, but I can sing. So I hit up the director and I was just like, hey, like, this is my background. And she was really excited to speak with me. And I ended up acting in my first play in 2017. And from that, I ended up getting scouted and getting an acting agent. And so I started acting. And then within that same time frame, I also started dancing with a group called the Blind Dance Company. Shout out to Haidia Muhammad, who's an excellent choreographer. And I started dancing again, and it was like this really cool experience because, like I mentioned before, I just didn't know
Mhm.
that I could still dance as a blind person. And I quickly learned like I absolutely can. And I was able to touch and feel the movements and feel what she was doing and catch it really quickly.
Mhm.
And I think it's very helpful that I was a dancer before I lost my eyesight because a lot of things that she would say I could pick up quickly. And so I just started dancing and acting, and that kind of led into my advocacy work and modeling.
Yeah.
It kind of just all goes hand in hand because really I feel like my mission is to disrupt the space
Right.
because
Yeah.
we're not, it's not built for us, especially as a woman of color and a person with a disability. Like, these spaces are not built for us. And I just feel like the more I do, the more I disrupt what society thinks is normal or what society thinks we can do. And they don't have like the, what am I trying to say? They don't have the right to tell us what we can and cannot do.
Yep.
We determine that. And so everything I do is intentional so that people can know, like, no, it's what you say you can do, it's what you believe you can do, and then you make it happen.
Exactly. And I love that you were an artist and you were acknowledging the fact that when you were dancing, like you dipped your toe in that part, but as you lost your vision, especially like you didn't know where you were going to take your art. But I feel like since you had this understanding of what art can bring to us, that took your work even further now where you are. And I feel like you have this understanding of how art bridges people together and how art shows people what we are capable of. And it does feel like a disruption, especially for artists of color and artists with disabilities. However, it also feels like a huge reclamation. And I see that in your work, especially how you're taking space in all of these different disciplines. And it's really special.
Thank you.
Welcome. So, my next question for you, or two questions, I guess, is how does your identity inform your art, and vice versa? How does your art inform your identity?
That's a good question. I think that, you know, I guess I would say that like the way that my identity affects my art is that anything that I do artistically, I want to make sure that I'm emoting power and strength because I feel like as a person with a disability, we're often looked at as helpless or hopeless.
Right.
And so I just want to make sure that when you see any of my art, it makes you feel like you can do anything. And I want to show people that I am a powerful being. I am a person of strength. I
Mhm.
do have the ability. And so I feel like that affects my art because I want to make sure when I do stuff, I do it big. and like you know that it was Natalie. It's not something like I don't need to hide behind my light. I don't need to hide my light or hide behind under a lampshade. Like
Yeah.
I want to make sure I'm radiating in all aspects of what I'm doing. And so I think that's how I would best describe like how my identity, affects my art.
Yeah, you are the light. I feel like as the light you are, you're actively changing the narrative of disability because I feel like the media really does not represent the disability community or even artists of color really well. Um, so that bridges me into my next question. You were featured in an article called I'm Disabled and I Refuse to Be Your Inspiration. And part of what you spoke about in this article is that many people misuse the term inspiration. So, going with this, it's like surviving the conditions of white supremacy, ableism, and anti Blackness is not an inspiration. So, instead, what do you find truly inspiring and what makes you feel influential as an artist?
What I find inspiring is people that really see everyone as one. Like they believe in unity and you see it in their work. It's not something that they just talk about. I feel like DEI is like a buzzword right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a hot topic like, oh yeah, we're diverse and you see all these companies
Yeah.
getting these DEI teams and no one on their board is has a disability and it's crazy because it's like, okay, you're DEI but you don't even you're forgetting like the biggest group the biggest minority group in the world. And so I find it inspiring when people are what they say they are. It's genuine, they're honest, and they really care about the people around them. Those are the people that I'm most inspired by because I feel like they really get it and they don't have to talk about it because you see it in their work, you see it in the way they treat others, you see it in the relationships that they build with people. It's part of their brand. And so I think that's for me that's truly inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
And
Definitely.
what was the second part of the question?
Oh no, it's okay. And I also wanted to know what makes you feel influential as an artist.
I think like what makes me feel influential as an artist when people just compliment me for my work and not because I have a disability. Like when people just say, like when I put a cute look together and they're like, that outfit is fire. It has nothing to do with my disability. It's
Yes.
just like
Yeah.
I have on a cute outfit. You know what I mean? Or if I put out, like I like to write songs too. I like to do lyrics. And so like if I put something out and I share it on my social media platform and people are like, oh no, that song is it. Like I like that. And it's more about my work and not me as a blind individual. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Your disability is not who you are. I mean, look at the ability that you do have. You're everywhere. You are so multifaceted. And I think a lot of times people overlook the fact that people with disabilities are people and with talents and voices that need to be heard. And you're right, like in DEI, oftentimes disability is so overlooked, and that's the issue. is like you're saying all of these things, but where's the action?
Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. Um, and then also talking about representation, my next question is there is a huge lack of representation in the media for artists of color and for artists with disabilities. So why to you is representation important?
It's important because people need to see themselves on television.
Yep.
And, you know, when you're watching TV and you don't see anyone that looks like you, or you're looking at a film, sometimes you kind of start to feel like you don't matter,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like, where am I? Where do I fit in society? And you get this idea that, you know, the people that you do see are superior or somehow better. And that's not the case. It's like, no,
Mm-hmm.
we're just as important. They're just not putting us on there. We're magic too. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so I feel like it's so important because little kids need to be able to see themselves. I mean, and that's why people get bullied, or, you know, there's so much separation in schools, because people aren't getting the full experience of what life really looks like, what the world around them really looks like. And I just think it's so important to our mental and our growth as people,
Mm-hmm.
as different cultures and as a society.
Definitely. Definitely. I think our stages need to reflect the truth of our world. I think stories need to reflect, songs need to reflect, because what's being put to the forefront are Eurocentric things and Western ideals. And it's like, no, there are so many voices that have been pushed to the bottom that are more than valuable. So, my next question for you is I see you finding ways to elevate the underrepresented from implicit bias, especially in the fashion industry. In Fashionably Tardy, you're always talking about different artists and elevating their voices. So, how do you find ways to reshape and transform stereotypes?
I think that the best way to do it is just to put out the art, put out the work. I always, if I put a cute look together, I'm going to put it on Instagram. I'm going to show it
Exactly.
because I think people need to see what we can do. I mean, it's sad to say, but it's like, if they don't see it, then they don't know.
Mm.
And so we just constantly put out work. We constantly highlight people with disabilities in the fashion industry. I'm constantly making sure that I put my best looks together when I post pictures on Instagram, so that you can kind of see my style, kind of see how I like to dress, you know, how I put looks together. I have a video on YouTube. I think you can look it up, and it's Fashion in the Dark, and I literally show you how I style my clothes. I'm showing you how you can use all, you know, use the things in your closet
Mhm.
to make really cute outfits without having to go to the store. And I just think like it's so important just to show, because you can talk about something and people be like, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. Or you can just do it and like really give some, you know, really give people something to vibe with and to look at, and to see your art. Because I feel like the more they see it, the more, you know, they'll truly start to understand that, okay, you know, like this is actually like they doing it, like they actually doing something, and it's cute and it's professional. So I guess, did I answer your question?
Yes, definitely. And it is unfortunate that people need proof. However, your work, what your work is doing is you're giving it to the people, and hopefully that paves way for the future where people aren't asking for proof anymore, that they don't need to see that you have ability, that artists with disabilities or visual impairments in the fashion industry have talent, you know? You don't need to
Yeah.
prove yourselves, but your art and your work speaks for itself. So that's what's so exciting about your work. And I'm wondering if you have any new exciting projects that are coming up that you think the CAC followers should know about, or anything you've been working on.
Yeah, so we're preparing for the next season of Fashionably Tardy. We're super excited. There's a lot of changes coming up. Being that, you know, next season's episodes are going to be a lot shorter, which means we get to cover more artists. And we just have like some new exciting people that I'm so like, I'm just like thrilled, because we've gotten some amazing people for next season, and I can't wait to tell their stories and for listeners to be able to hear like the amazing stories that these people usually come out with.
Mhm.
And then, of course, my dance team, Infinite Flow, we currently have a children's movie out called Scoops of Inclusion
Mm.
that teaches inclusion through dance. It's very cute. It's family oriented. You can watch it with your family. And it's just a very, like, I love it because it's truly inclusive. Like Infinite Flow is dancers of all abilities, and we come together and dance as one. And so we have like some school assemblies coming up and some events. So that's really exciting as well.
Mhm.
And then just hopefully, like, fingers crossed, prayers that like I will be on television soon,
Oh,
and some type of project. Like I've been in, I've been auditioning a lot lately, and so I'm just hoping that all this auditioning pays off and people start to see me on something, Netflix,
I
Hulu,
mean,
something.
I found you, I see you, and I know people see you, and your energy is so contagious, like I said. So you'll be out there. Your name will be known. I have no doubts. um, and as we're talking about your legacy and who you are as an artist, what do you believe is your true role in the artistic world, and what is your legacy? What do you want to leave once you're done with the arts?
I think my role is to help pave the way for younger blind artists. I feel like the blind community gets the short end of the stick a lot because even in the disability world, people, when you think of disability, people automatically go to somebody in a wheelchair.
Mm,
And the disability community is so much wider than that. And so I just, I had students a few years ago, and I just remember them telling me, like, they're blind students and wanting to work in the entertainment world, but being discouraged because they didn't see anybody that looked like them. And so I'm hoping that I'm part of that group that, is putting in the hard work right now so that I can just look back, hold out my hand and bring them forward, bring them past me to continue the work.
yeah,
Because it's always, it's going to be a lot of work, but I
yeah,
feel like it can be done and we're doing it now. And so I just want to leave, I just want to make a path that's so much easier than it was for me. And I want my students to be motivated and to know, like, no, you can absolutely work in entertainment. You can absolutely be an artist. Like, you can absolutely do this. And so I'm just really hoping that I can be an example and a role model to them, and that my legacy is one that they said, all the, everything was stacked against her.
yeah.
She went through so many obstacles and so many odds, but she came out ahead and she overcome them, and I can too. So I think that's, really what I want to leave behind for those coming after me.
Definitely. And that's why you're here, is because you've shown the world that there are no boundaries. There are no borders, borderless art. There are no borders to art. And that is exactly what you're showing future artists and aspiring artists like me. And it's been an honor. So thank you so much for sharing your time with C.A.A.C, Natalie. I cannot wait to continue to follow where your career takes you, because it's definitely going to be such a successful one. And yeah, again, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.